the International Legion's boot camp. This is probably the #1 question I get asked when it comes to the International Legion. So I want to break down how that International Legion boot camp is. I put it in quotations because it's not really a boot camp, it's just basic combat training for 6 to 8 weeks typically. I want to break that down for anybody who has been asking. Also, I'm going to break down some of the physical fitness requirements that I wish I knew and I wish I was more prepared for before I arrived at the International Legion. First off, it's been a couple days since I posted a video. I ended up moving rooms and all my equipment and stuff to a different room that's a little bit cooler than that hot ass attic that I was up in. I'm all squared away now, everything's in this room, and I'm ready to keep going with some content. All right, so let's get to it. The International Legion for the Defense of Ukraine has a 6 to 8 week, it's closer to 8 weeks of a basic combat training or a boot camp. When you first arrive to the military base where you're going to be training for the next 8 weeks, you'll be introduced to all your commanders, the officers, the different people in charge, and then you'll be placed into typically one of 3 groups, Alpha, Bravo, or Charlie. This will be the group that you train with. As far as PT, your physical training, your meal time, and your rest time, you'll be doing all that with everybody within the barracks, all together, Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. So you'll only be separated into your little groups when you go out and do training rotations. Like, for example, Alpha will be doing CQB training, Bravo will be doing trench digging, and Charlie will be doing drone surveillance. That's just an example, but that's how it'll work. So the average day while you're in training in the International Legion looks something like this. Lights on and out of bed at 0700. At 0730, you are outside in formation getting ready for PT. Standard PT is really nothing crazy. It's a few laps around the track. You do some push-ups, sit-ups, squats, body weight exercises, stuff like that. And then you head back into the barracks. Because the International Legion is an infantry unit, anybody that knows anything about infantry is you are hiking, walking, running a lot. Not only are you doing all of this in the middle of icy winter or in the hot summer, but you're gonna be doing this with anywhere from 30 to 60, 70 pounds of gear on your back. What I would recommend, what I wish I would have done, was gone on some long walks, jogs, hikes with some really heavy rucksack or backpacks on before I got to Ukraine. That would have helped me tremendously as far as the PT and the training went. Other than that, really everything else is body weight exercises. Get your push-ups down. Make sure you can do at least 20 push-ups. Get your sit-ups down. Make sure you're doing at least 30 sit-ups. Lunges, squats, jumping jacks. These are all things that the commanders will be having you do daily during PT. But again, #1 thing is your cardio and your endurance, your stamina. Make sure you can jog with some heavy gear on. When you get back into the barracks, you have hygiene time where you clean yourself up. There's no shower, so you've got baby wipes. You're cleaning yourself up with baby wipes, maybe splashing some water on you from the sink, getting as clean as you possibly can. After hygiene time, the food truck arrives for breakfast. Everybody lines up from outside where the food truck pulls in, the line all the way down to the kitchen, which is at the other end of the barracks. And the people in the food truck will load up trays with your food, and you'll take a tray and you'll head back into the kitchen. So it's like a rotation like that until everybody gets a tray full of food. After breakfast, you have block jobs, and then you get ready for training. Block jobs consist of basically just cleaning the barracks, cleaning the bathrooms, sweeping, mopping, all the bullshit. After the block jobs, typically a commander comes in, they'll open up the armory, and then you get in line to check out your rifle. Once you get your rifle, you head back to your bunk, basically make sure you got all your gear on, check your rifle, just wait for everybody else to get their rifles, then you head out and get into formation. Once you're out in the formation, the commanders and the second ICs, the second in commands will come out and basically break you up into your squads, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and you'll be told what your training is for the day. Once you've been assigned to your training, you'll roll out with your commander and the second IC, and you'll do your training for the day, which is anywhere from like 3 to 5 hours long. If you had to leave the base for your training, like you had to go to the polygon for live fire training or something, the food truck will come around and bring your lunch trays to you wherever you're training at. If you're just training on the barracks, you'll just head inside when it's lunchtime. You'll have lunch that the food truck brings, and you'll head back out and finish the rest of your training for the day, another couple of hours. Once you finish the second half of the day's training, you'll come back to the barracks, another hygiene round where you clean yourself up with baby wipes, water, whatever, and get ready for the food truck to come deliver dinner. The same routine, go get your tray, eat on your bunk, bullshit with everybody, and then you typically have the rest of the night till 10 p.m. or 2200. When it's lights out, you go to sleep, and then you do it again the next morning. And that's really it. That's pretty much the day-to-day routine in the International Legion as a Legionnaire. Now, for someone like me, I had 0 military experience before going into the International Legion, but I did have experience being a firefighter and an EMT. And I will say that in the Fire Academy and the International Legion training, I would say it was around the same difficulty level. Some days were actually really tough, but I would say the bulk of the days were like a medium difficulty. It really wasn't that challenging the majority of the days. I heard a lot of the other guys that were in the same squad as me, who are ex-US military or ex-British military, say that it was a lot easier than their boot camp or their basic training. Some people said it was the same, some people said it was harder. So I really don't know, because I never went to that kind of a training, a basic boot camp like that. This was the only boot camp that I had been to. Now that I've given you the basic day-to-day structure, I want to tell you about some of the curveballs that you're going to get during your 8 weeks of training. I'll give you a story first to kind of emphasize this first curveball that I'm going to mention. I believe it was my second or third day in the training barracks, third day of training. It was about 3 a.m. and there's screaming, there's alarms going off, and there's even gunfire going off in the barracks, like live gunfire. Of course, everybody's popping up. What the hell's going on? People are coughing and choking because the barracks is starting to fill up with smoke. And our commanders are running up and down the aisleways in the barracks, up and down where the bunks are placed. So everybody's in a frenzy and a panic and trying to stumble and get their gear on. In the chaos, I ended up putting on 2 left-footed boots somehow. I still don't know how I managed to do that. But finally, when we all got outside and we got into formation, it's pitch black again. It's 3 a.m. It's the middle of winter in eastern Ukraine. It's cold as shit. I look down and I've got 3 left-footed boots on like this. And then the platoon commander at the time said, okay, we're going on a big ruck, which is a march. It was about 7 to 10 kilometers, which isn't that crazy, but for me, it was a lot, especially with 2 left-footed boots. So this is one of the surprise curveballs that you're gonna get during training. Basically, what they had done was around 3 a.m., kind of as an initiation for all of us getting to the training boot camp, we had a few days to kind of get situated, and as an initiation to kind of get us ready for anything, the commanders set up a plan. At 3 a.m. they came in, they rolled in smoke grenades underneath the bunks in the barracks. Once the smoke started filling the barracks, people started waking up. Our platoon commander was running up and down the barracks shooting his sidearm that has 9mm blanks in it. So it's extremely loud, it's smoky. Basically what the commanders tell us is they want us to be ready for anything. Shit can hit the fan at any moment when you're on the front line, and they just want us to be as prepared as possible for that. So I would say while I was there in training, one of these surprise wake-up calls like ambushes and then surprise PT where we had to go do a long hike or something happened about once a week. But what we all started to notice was that if us Legionnaires pissed off our command that day, we knew that we were gonna be woken up at 3 a.m. with a long ass march or PT session. Basically, anytime we got in trouble that earlier that day, we knew in the nighttime the commanders were gonna wake us up and make us run. Got to the point where we knew that we messed up the day before, so a lot of us were already up ready at 3 a.m. with our battle gear because we knew the commanders were waking up any minute to come wake our asses up and make us go get in formation outside and run laps. Another curveball that happens, I would say, almost every day, if not at least every other day, are air raid alarms. Air raid alarms are extremely common in Ukraine. When you get an air raid alarm, wherever you are on the base, you have to head back in to your barracks, get all your gear on, and then you haul ass out to a safe position and your bunkers out deep into the forested area, away from any structures or buildings in the barracks. We've seen these air raids literally last 30 minutes. The sirens will go, they'll go, and then after 30 minutes, we'll get an alert, say, hey, we're all clear. Then you just carry on with the rest of your day. There's been other times where we were out in the bunkers, out in the forested area, 6 to 8 hours at a time. That's how long the air raid lasted. So if you were in the middle of training or you were about to go do live fire training or grenade training or something like that, and this air raid comes on, that changes your whole day around. So I would say that's the second curveball to look out for while you're in training. Just know that at any given moment, you could get an air raid alarm and have to go out and sit in the bunkers for hours. So I basically covered what to expect Monday through Friday. Let's talk about the weekends. If you're lucky, you will get the weekend off, meaning that you can go into the nearest city, the nearest town, closest to the military base where you're training at. You rent a hotel room for a couple nights for like $20 because things are cheap as shit out there. You get a hot shower, you get a nice bed. I would say the bulk of the guys would go out and shower and then go party their ass off for the weekend. Those of you who don't know, I've been sober for 8 years. So I made a couple of friends who are also sober, just not big partiers, and we go shower, clean up, go get some awesome food, and then typically just head back to our hotel room and knock out. Basically, during training, everybody is living for the weekends. Whether it's people like me who don't party and they just want to get a nice shower and go lay down in a nice bed, or for the guys who just want to go out, get some beers, and let loose for a couple nights. Either way, we all loved our weekends. But our commanders also knew this, so if we did not perform the way we should have been during training, or if people were messing up or getting in trouble, they would take our weekends away where we had to stay on base. If we had to stay on base, sometimes they would make us go train, other times we would just have the full day of free time in the barracks. Everybody's laying around on their phones and watching movies and stuff like that. Eventually, you're gonna hit that 7 to 8 week mark where you finish your entire training regimen. Your commanders are gonna say, hey, this was the last of the training. Now we basically wait until we get the notification from top command that we're gonna deploy. So basically have all your shit packed up and ready to go, and we could leave any time from now and like 2 weeks from now. So in my case, we had finished training and we were still on that base for like another 8 to 9 days before we ended up deploying. Just because my group, my platoon at the time, had finished training didn't mean that the entire barracks was done training. The whole time that my platoon was training, more and more people were filtering in and they were making more platoons and starting their training regimens. So in these 8 to 9 days, we're sitting in the barracks, basically twiddling our thumbs, ready to go get in the fight. There's more and more new people coming in, starting their training, and you're watching these guys go through their training regimen, and we're all sitting there like just ready to go. A lot of us started getting cabin fever at this point. There's like 60 or 70 of us at this point in this barracks, one working toilet, no showers. I mean, people are getting sick, people are upset and just over the whole situation. They want to get out of there and go to the front. At one point, I got pink eye in both eyes just because of how many people were in that barracks and how unsanitary everything was. When you've got that many guys not showering, everybody's sweating, some people are bleeding at times, there's just fluids going around and people are coughing and hacking and it's gross. So that part was tough. The hygiene and the sanitation within those barracks at the time, maybe it's better now. This was close to a year ago when I was there. We were the 3rd Battalion to graduate out of the basic combat training and deploy. So things could be and probably are much better at this point. If there's anybody that's currently in the Legion who has recently gone through training, let us know in the comments as far as the hygiene goes and the sanitation. It's probably a lot better, but back then it was not. Eventually, one of the top commanders shows up at the barracks. All us guys are like, oh my God, is this it? Is this it? And he says, okay, pack your shit. In 2 hours, we leave. So everybody, of course, we all already have our stuff packed. We just throw the little things that we've had out in our bags. We gear up, everybody's pumped up, stoked, high fives, hugs, we're getting ready to go. And you take a bus ride to a location in eastern Ukraine where there's a large International Legion base. Here you get issued your gear, you get issued your camos, snow pants, snow jacket, plate carrier if you need one, if you didn't bring your own, helmet if you didn't bring your own, gloves, socks, t-shirt. I still have my Ukrainian issued boxers and socks. You get all this shit, a sleeping bag, a sleeping mat. You get a ton of gear, and then you wait in this base until your platoon commander for the platoon you're joining on the front line comes and retrieves you from the base and takes you to your position on the front line. I mean, and that's really it. For me, it was an insane experience, but it was also one of the coolest experiences of my life. Going through training like that, having no military experience, and going through that training with all these awesome guys who, are lifelong friends of mine now. There's definitely a lot of shitty moments. I'm willing to say probably more shitty moments than good moments. But the cool thing is that you're all going through the shitty moments together, so it makes it a little bit less shitty. Makes everybody even closer. It's pretty cool. But that's a quick breakdown of what your 8-week International Legion boot camp is going to look like, your 8-week basic training. It's also worth mentioning, you do get paid the entire time that you're training. At this point, you are contracted in the International Legion, so you start getting paid immediately, right when you start training. Again, like I mentioned before, it's been a year since I was there. Things may have changed a lot, but this is exactly how it was when I was there. That's really it. If I missed anything, anybody who's been through the training, let me know what I missed in the comments down below. Also, let me know in the comments what else you guys want to see. I'm working on some cool collabs with some of the guys that I was in Ukraine with. Maybe do some interview content. We're going to blow this channel up. I appreciate all your guys' support. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Love you.